Let me ask you this. When in your life did Mississippi lead the nation in education? Raise your hand if you've ever heard that Mississippi is first in education. I see some people shaking their heads. Building on what Toby said, he's exactly right. We, with this legislation that you just heard about on the video, are leading the nation in education. We are at the forefront of early education. How do I know that? When we passed the bill, or after we passed the bill in 2013, I was invited to many different places, to Washington, D.C., to Atlanta, to Chicago, to talk about what we did here in Mississippi. And I appreciate the governor is big on getting the message out of what we are doing good. And you can take this for what it's worth, but they said, gosh, if y'all did that in Mississippi, well, we can do that. And okay, maybe a backhanded compliment, but you know what? I'll take it. Okay, I'll take it. And and what you saw in the video, what Rachel said, when we did this legislation, we went on the research, on the near scale, from 0 to a 10, the highest in the nation. The highest in the nation. Virginia, who has had early education for 20 years, their ranking was 5. Okay, Louisiana is 6. So we've gone from 0 to 10. We're leading the nation. I got a call the summer after we did this from a reporter in Idaho with the Idaho Statesman. He said, Senator Wiggins, he said, we heard about what y'all did with that legislation. Our politics in Idaho, very conservative state, very similar to Mississippi, but there are people who say we need early education. He called and said, how did y'all do that? How did y'all do that? And I proceeded to tell him. And also one of the things that I told him is this legislation that you heard about, since I have been here, since I've been in office, was passed with a broader base of coalition than any other legislation that has come through the Capitol. We had MEC, we couldn't have done it without it, law enforcement, church leaders, educators, Democrats. We had everybody. They supported it. And thank you, Governor. And I want to say, that's about, in my opinion, that's about leadership. The governor has been out there. That's about leadership. It's about providing the best future for our children. And so, you know, it's a proud thing that we've done, and I would say that the legislature has given you, the business community, something that you've asked for. When we launched into this, what I heard, and starting with Chevron, my good friend Steve Renfro, who was there, continuing with Alan Sudduth, what we heard was, we, the business community, we don't have the workforce. We're not getting the workforce that we need. We want to invest in Mississippi. We want to hire Mississippians, but we aren't getting that, and we support early education. And so with this legislation, we've provided that to the citizens and to you, the business community. And so I'll leave you with this. You go, well, how can we help? What you have in your packet is investing in pre-kindergarten, and Toby alluded to it about the tax credits. What we did in the legislation, and he's right about the private sector being involved. We knew that the state of Mississippi cannot afford this on our own. It's the public-private partnership that Blake alluded to. And what we said was, individuals, businesses, entities, if you contribute to a collaborative, then you get a one-for-one tax credit. And then what that does is that builds the collaborative's coffers, and they use that to match the funds. It describes it in here. And it's capped at $3 million. So, and I'll pick on Chevron because I always pick on them. But, for example, if Chevron writes a check for $1 million to the Jackson Collaborative Act, Chevron gets a $1 million tax credit. The Jackson Collaborative gets $1 million in there. They use those matching funds to draw down the money from the state. So they have $2 million, or they're eligible for $2 million to be able to invest in early education. You can do that. I can go home, write a $100 check to the collaborative, and I get a tax credit. And it's capped, and it's a race, the way it's done, it's a race to the Department of Revenue. So start writing out those checks because it's capped at $3 million. And as the video said, we want to continue that and invest in that. So thank you for being here and for allowing Mississippi to be a leader in this area.